Recently, senior executives at TSMC have shown a rare impatience towards the complaints made by employees at their US wafer fabs. Some TSMC employees in the US, who commented on the company's website Glassdoor, stated that they had slept in the office for a consecutive month and working 12 hours a day was the norm, with weekend shifts being common. One engineer wrote, "TSMC's work culture is one of obedience, and it is clear that the company was not adequately prepared for its expansion to the United States." In response, TSMC chairman Liu Deyin stated on June 6 that TSMC does not require US employees to adopt the same work methods as those in Taiwan, but they are still expected to adhere to TSMC's core values. He further remarked, "Those who are unwilling to work shifts should not join this industry. This industry does not rely on high salaries, but rather on genuine interest." In fact, over the past year, complaints regarding work hours and the on-call and overtime system at TSMC's US wafer fabs have been ongoing. In June 2022, a former process engineer who claimed to have worked at TSMC's fab in Phoenix, Arizona for over a year, stated that working at TSMC would be a good choice for enhancing one's resume, but for semiconductor professionals who value personal or professional development, he believed TSMC was not the best option. He pointed out issues such as militaristic management and limited career development, which were prominent concerns for US employees at TSMC's wafer fabs. He noted that 95% of the mid- to senior-level managers at TSMC's new US fab came from Taiwan, and local employees were not accustomed to their management style. For example, arriving at work promptly at 8:30 a.m. but leaving at 6:30 p.m. would be seen as being a poor employee. Moreover, as early as November 2021, a former TSMC US fab equipment engineer, who claimed to have received training in Taiwan, posted on Glassdoor, expressing dissatisfaction with excessively long working hours, outdated software, endless meetings, and a lack of respect for personal freedom, all of which were deep-seated impressions from working at TSMC headquarters. Over the past year, TSMC's senior management has maintained a patient and tolerant attitude towards the complaints from new employees at the US fab regarding the work system that they find difficult to adapt to. However, Liu Deying's statement of "those who are unwilling to work shifts should not join this industry" highlights the contradictions and various problems that exist. So, what are the problems and challenges that TSMC faces in establishing fabs in the US? And why is TSMC's situation deteriorating? Okay, that and more is exactly what we are going to talk about. Liu Deying's statement reflects several issues: the increasing prominence of cultural differences and conflicts in the work culture, increased difficulty in recruiting engineers, and an increased risk of being poached by competitors. TSMC has also proposed some solutions to address the issue of cultural conflicts. For instance, the company has set a limit of 60 working hours per week, and over the past 2 years, the average weekly working hours have not exceeded 50 hours, except for a few exceptional cases involving new processes or rush construction of new fabs. Due to the differences in work culture and systems, TSMC is facing increasing difficulties in hiring engineers and technicians in the United States. TSMC's 2 new wafer fabs in Arizona, with a total investment of around $40 billion, are scheduled to start 4 nanometers production in the first phase in 2024, with the second phase planned for completion in 2026, introducing 3 nanometers technology. These fabs will employ 4,500 new employees. Some employees have expressed that the company's tough culture can infuriate American employees and job seekers, making it even more challenging to recruit enough staff. Regarding the recruitment issues at TSMC's new US fab, concerns have been raised by shareholders. In response, Liu Deyin stated that the cost of establishing the US fab is indeed higher than expected, and the recruitment difficulty is higher than in Taiwan, but it is not insurmountable. Currently, the number of recruited employees stands at 2,000, which is still far from the target of 4,500. In addition to recruitment challenges, TSMC's new US fab also faces the risk of being poached by competitors. Yang Yingqiao, chairman of US-based Coheland Capital, who has resided in Phoenix, Arizona for 40 years, has a deep understanding of this. He pointed out that Taiwan offers a convenient and comfortable lifestyle, and in recent years, most Taiwanese students who studied in the US have returned to Taiwan after obtaining their degrees, with only a few staying behind. The TSMC engineers willing to travel to the US to work are mostly experienced professionals in their 30s and 40s. Their reasons for working in the US are simple: to obtain a green card and provide their children with better educational and employment opportunities in the future. Yang Yingqiao predicts that engineers at TSMC's US fab may be poached by Intel within 3 to 5 years. This is because Intel's fabs are located less than an hour's drive away from TSMC's US fab, and by joining Intel, engineers can earn at least double the salary while working fewer overtime hours, which is appealing to engineers who value work-life balance. Some people who graduated from high school work as operators at Intel fabs, with very few having college degrees. On the other hand, TSMC hires PhD graduates as bachelor's degree holders and maintains high-quality work. The tasks that Americans are unwilling to do are often assigned to employees from Taiwan, and if this continues, outstanding talents are at risk of being poached by American competitors. Furthermore, there is a high probability that chips manufactured by TSMC in the US will still need to be sent back to Asia for packaging and testing. Therefore, when it comes to building a localized ecosystem in the US, Intel has a competitive advantage over TSMC, which is also one of the factors in the talent competition. In addition to the aforementioned issues, TSMC's US wafer fab also faces the risk of government subsidies going down the drain. We are aware that building wafer fabs and mass-producing chips in the United States comes with significantly higher costs compared to Asia. TSMC was motivated to establish fabs in the US due to government subsidy programs. However, when the new fabs were completed and equipment was being moved in, the US government introduced new requirements. These requirements stated that after the US fabs of TSMC, Samsung, and SK Hynix start mass production, a certain percentage of profits must be shared with the US government, along with additional costs. This was unexpected for these major fabs before they established operations in the US. The cost of building and operating fabs in the US is already high, and now, after all the hard work of mass production, a portion of the profits will be taken away. Naturally, these foreign fabs are displeased. Moreover, the government subsidies promised by the US government, which were key conditions for TSMC to establish fabs in the US, may also encounter issues. Recently, the highly publicized US debt ceiling crisis may have an impact on the CHIPS and Science Act, which provides the legal basis for government subsidies to fabs such as TSMC. The CHIPS Act provides approximately $280 billion in funding, with $170 billion requiring annual appropriations by Congress, making it subject to the new spending limits agreed upon by the Democrats and Republicans. Even before the recent discussions surrounding the debt ceiling, the US Congress had already rejected full authorization of the CHIPS Act funding. If the US government fails to provide timely subsidy funding for the CHIPS Act, or if the funding amount is reduced, foreign fabs such as TSMC and Samsung will face difficulties. Without the subsidies, the high cost of chip production in the US makes it challenging for them to sustain long-term operations. If the subsidies are delivered on time but the total amount is reduced, it is likely that the US government will prioritize domestic fabs such as Intel and Micron, leaving foreign fabs like TSMC and Samsung with only a small portion. In recent years, apart from the United States, TSMC has been expanding its global footprint by investing in fabs in countries like Japan and Germany. As a result, the company is facing an increasing number of challenges. Global expansion places higher demands on management, finance, and other resources. The challenges that arise from this expansion include costs, labor shortages, limited industrial land, foreign regulations, government subsidies, cultural differences, and intellectual property protection. Furthermore, labor shortages, disruptions in the supply chain of materials, and construction issues can all affect the progress of fab construction and further increase costs for TSMC, potentially hindering the achievement of their planned capacity expansion. Additionally, various natural disasters, cyber attacks, and shortages of water, electricity, and natural gas supply can also cause interruptions in fab operations. Therefore, in my opinion, TSMC's presence in the United States involves not only chip manufacturing but also understanding politics and negotiation. It is crucial for TSMC to cultivate and employ relevant talents who have lived in the United States for many years, and have reached management positions in local companies. Only then can they gain an in-depth understanding of American culture and know how to negotiate with the US side to achieve win-win agreements, rather than agreeing to everything the US says. not only in the United States. But if TSMC plans to establish new fabs in other countries and regions worldwide, they will also face similar issues and require similar solutions. In recent years, governments around the world have been offering subsidies or tax incentives to encourage the establishment of local chip production lines, aiming to minimize reliance on Asian, especially Taiwanese, foundries. With the improvement of self-sufficiency in chips by countries such as the United States, mainland China, and others, Taiwan's foundry industry's global market share is expected to significantly decline in the coming years. According to TrendForce, by 2026, Taiwan's foundry industry's global market share will decrease from the current 66% to 44%. A recent report from Moody's Investors Service indicates that global economic slowdown and US export restrictions will weaken TSMC's revenue in the next 12 to 18 months. In 2024, global economic factors hindering TSMC's revenue growth are likely to improve. However, another significant influencing factor, US export restrictions, is difficult to see improvement in the foreseeable future, and it will continue to have a negative impact on TSMC's revenue. In this situation, the establishment of fabs by TSMC in Europe, the United States, Japan, and other regions is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can offset some of the negative effects of US export restrictions. For example, localized production can reduce reliance on international trade routes. On the other hand, it will pose challenges to TSMC's costs and local adaptability. At that time, similar to Chairman Liu Deying's complaint about the employees at the US fabs, similar remarks may also emerge in other regions. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions, just leave them in the comments section. We'll come back as soon as possible and check them, and then we'll give feedback. See you next time.